Let me ask you something. Have you ever been left by someone who said they just need space, or weren't ready, or worse, didn't even give you a proper explanation? And in that moment, didn't it feel like your whole world cracked open? It's brutal, it's confusing, and yes, it hurts like hell. But here's what most people don't realize. That moment, the one where he walked out, that's not your ending, that's your ignition point. This isn't about getting revenge, it's about reclaiming your power. It's about turning the version of you that got left into the version of you no one ever dares to leave again. This is your opportunity to shift the focus from, "Why did he leave me?" to, "Why would I ever want him back?" So today isn't about him, it's about you and the future you're about to own. Because when you start living in your power, something beautiful happens. You stop chasing approval and start attracting everything you thought you'd lost. Let's get into it. When someone walks away from you, especially someone you loved, it feels like the ground disappears beneath your feet. You're not just dealing with absence, you're dealing with confusion, self-doubt, and this nagging question that keeps circling in your mind, why wasn't I enough? It's natural to feel devastated, but here's the truth most people never tell you. Pain is more than just a feeling. Pain is a signal. It's your body and your heart trying to tell you something important, something you probably weren't paying attention to before. Instead of drowning in that pain or pushing it away, you need to learn how to decode it. Think of pain like an alarm bell. It doesn't go off for no reason. It's trying to wake you up to something you might have ignored, maybe for months, maybe for years. When he left, it probably hurt like hell. But if you're honest with yourself, there were signs before that moment, weren't there? Signs that something wasn't right, that he was pulling away, that you were compromising too much, that you were loving with both hands while he was only giving you crumbs. And you told yourself, if I just try harder, maybe he'll see my worth. That right there, that's the lesson pain's trying to teach you. Pain shows up when we've abandoned ourselves for too long, when we've silenced our gut feeling just to keep someone else happy, when we've accepted behavior that made us feel small, anxious, or confused just because we didn't want to be alone. So now he's gone, the worst already happened, and as horrible as that feels, it's also the moment you get to wake up. This isn't about blaming him for everything. This is about turning inward and asking, what part of me needed someone else to choose me before I chose myself? Because that's the part that needs healing. That's the part pain is pointing you to. The people who grow the most from heartbreak are the ones who use it as a mirror. Not a mirror to see how broken they are, but a mirror to reflect back how much they were giving, how little they were receiving, and how much they were tolerating out of fear. When you see pain for what it is, a message, you stop fighting it and start listening. And once you start listening, you start changing. That's where your power begins. It's not when he apologizes. It's not when he comes back. It's not when he regrets leaving. Your power begins the moment you decide to stop asking why he walked away and start asking what this pain is trying to make you become. Because the truth is, people can leave you, circumstances can change, love can end, but the lessons you gain from it, those stay with you forever. You can carry that wisdom into every area of your life, into your boundaries, into your self-respect, into the next person you choose to open your heart to. So don't waste this moment by just surviving it. Use it, learn from it, let this pain refine you into someone who will never again need someone else's permission to feel worthy. That version of you, that's someone no one will dare walk away from lightly again. Rejection hurts. There's no sugarcoating it. Whether it came suddenly or was a slow fade, when someone you cared about looks you in the eyes, or worse, doesn't, and says it's over, it can feel like your whole future just collapsed. It's easy in that moment to feel like you've lost something permanent, like the story you were writing with that person just got ripped in half. But here's what most people don't realize in the moment. Rejection is almost never the end. More often, it's a redirection. And while it doesn't feel like a gift now, sometimes the most painful no becomes the biggest yes to the life you are actually meant to have. When someone leaves, we tend to romanticize them. We idealize the relationship. We forget the ways we were compromising, the red flags we ignored, the emotional effort we gave while they stayed passive. It's a strange twist of the mind, but in the absence of love, we often crave the fantasy more than the reality. That's because we don't miss them. We miss who we thought would get to be with them. But here's the truth. If that person was meant to build the future you deserve, they wouldn't have left. They weren't your person. They were a lesson, a bridge, a nudge from life that said, no, not this way. This isn't it. Every rejection, especially a romantic one, is a chance to recenter yourself. It strips away the illusions, the codependency, and the fantasies we cling to. It brings you back to one person, you. When he left, he didn't take your worth with him. He didn't walk away with your value tucked under his arm. But if you let his decision become your definition, then you've handed him more than he deserves. Rejection doesn't mean you're unlovable. It means something or someone was misaligned. And sometimes the universe steps in and clears the space for you because you were never going to do it on your own. Think about it. How many times in life has something not going your way actually led you somewhere better? You didn't get the job you wanted and you ended up in a career you love. A friend betrayed you and you found your tribe. Rejection, in hindsight, is often a blessing with bad packaging. It feels like destruction in the moment, but it's actually construction. It's pulling apart the false foundation so you can build something stronger, something more aligned with who you are now, not who you were when you first fell for him. What you do next is what determines whether this rejection becomes a wound or a win. You can shrink, you can spiral into self-doubt, you can replay the breakup 100 times in your head looking for closure, or you can get intentional. You can use the time, the space, and yes, the pain to double down on your growth. Focus on your goals, reconnect with your passions, surround yourself with people who see you, not someone who left because they couldn't handle all that you are. This is where your power begins, not when someone chooses you, but when you stop needing them to. Let rejection be your redirection toward your purpose, your peace, and your evolution. Don't just bounce back, rise higher, move smarter, love deeper, starting with yourself, because the right person will never be confused about your worth, and the wrong one just gave you a head start to becoming the version of you that the right one will never let go of. There's something incredibly powerful that happens when your heart breaks. It cracks you open. And in that raw, exposed space, you're given a choice. You can either sit in the pain and let it define you, or you can use that fire and let it fuel you. When someone leaves you, especially someone you didn't want to lose, it can feel like your whole identity was tied to them. You feel lost, disoriented, even powerless. But that energy, that heartbreak, isn't weakness, it's fuel. And when you learn how to harness it, you stop breaking down and start building something extraordinary. Heartbreak creates a vacuum. All the energy you use to give to that person, all the time, effort, emotional labor, you suddenly don't know where to put it. That's your opportunity. That's your power. Take everything you were pouring into them and pour it back into yourself. Take that ache in your chest and put it into your workouts. Take those sleepless nights and use them to write your business plan. Take the need for closure and use it to close the gap between the person you were and the person you're meant to be. This is where hustle meets healing. You don't need to pretend you're not hurting. You don't need to fake strength, but you can channel that pain. Pain isn't just emotional, it's kinetic. It needs somewhere to go. If you don't move it, it turns into bitterness, into rumination, into self-doubt. But if you move with it, it becomes action. That's when heartbreak becomes transformation. You're not just surviving, you're building. Every hour you spend investing in your growth, every small win, every moment you show up when it would be easier to hide, that's the real comeback. Let him wonder what happened to the woman who used to beg for his attention. Let him scroll through your life 6 months from now and see someone who is thriving, not because she wants to prove a point, but because she stopped waiting for someone to validate her and started building a life she's proud of. That's not revenge. That's evolution. You didn't need to be saved. You just needed space to remember who the hell you are. This isn't about being cold or unbothered. It's about recognizing that you are not defined by someone else's decision to walk away. You're defined by what you do with that moment. You can sit in your room wondering what you did wrong, or you can get up, show up, and start writing a better story for yourself. The truth is, nobody ever regrets working on themselves. Nobody ever says, I wish I'd cried more and done nothing. The only regret comes from staying stuck. And right now you have momentum. You're cracked to open. That's when the light gets in, but it's also when the drive gets in. Use it. Let your glow up be grounded. Let it be real. Not just a highlight reel for Instagram, but a deeper connection to who you are. Take care of your body. Feed your mind. Learn new things. Build the career you always said you'd get around to. Fall in love again, this time with your own life. Let your habits reflect your new standards. Let your environment reflect your worth. That version of you, the one who turned heartbreak into hustle, she's unstoppable. She's magnetic. She's the woman who no longer chases anyone, because everything worth having is now chasing her. When a relationship ends, especially one where you didn't get the closure you wanted, it's easy to feel stuck in limbo. You wait for the message, the apology, the moment where they say, "I made a mistake." You wait for validation that it wasn't your fault, or that your love mattered, or that they miss you. But that moment often never comes. Or if it does, it's too little too late. That's why waiting for closure from someone else is one of the most painful ways to put your life on hold. The truth is the closure you need doesn't come from their words, it comes from your confidence. It comes from deciding that their absence is your answer. When someone walks away, they don't just leave a gap, they leave behind a question mark. And that question can echo in your head for days, weeks, even months. Why? Why did they change? Why didn't they try harder? Why wasn't I enough? But here's the thing. There are some questions in life that don't need answers to be resolved. You don't need to understand everything about their decision. You don't need to untangle all their emotional baggage or decode every mixed signal, because sometimes the most powerful thing you can say to yourself is, it doesn't matter why. They left, and I'm still here. Confidence is what fills the silence they left behind. It's what allows you to stop replaying the last conversation and start rewriting the story. When you have confidence, you stop needing people to validate your worth. You stop needing someone else to define whether you were lovable, worthy, or good enough. You realize that just because they couldn't see your value doesn't mean it wasn't there. It just means they weren't capable or ready to meet you at your level. And that's not a reflection of your failure. It's a reflection of their limitation. You don't need to become cold to move on. You don't have to pretend you never cared, but you do have to stop tying your healing to their behavior. You have to stop thinking that your peace is waiting on their regret. Confidence is reclaiming the power you gave away. It's choosing to believe in your future even when your past didn't end the way you wanted. It's waking up each day and saying, I don't need you to choose me. That's where real closure lives, not in their explanation, but in your decision to move forward without one. When you start showing up for yourself in that way, everything changes. You start walking differently, talking differently. You set boundaries that reflect your self-respect, not your fear of being alone. You stop accepting half love and start expecting consistency. You no longer settle for being tolerated. You wait for someone who truly sees you and shows it. And what's most powerful about that shift is that you no longer need anyone to come back to feel whole. You already are. Letting go doesn't mean you forget what happened. It means you stop holding your breath for something that may never come. It means you exhale and you start living. You start making peace with the fact that sometimes people leave not because you're not enough, but because they never knew how to hold someone who was. And if they didn't recognize your worth, that's not your burden to carry. Your only job now is to become the version of yourself that no longer asks for closure, but becomes it. Not for them, but for you. Because nothing is more powerful, more magnetic, or more freeing than a woman who doesn't need a door to reopen to know her value. After a breakup, one of the easiest things to do, and the most damaging, is to keep replaying the ending over and over in your head. The last words spoken, the things you wish you had said, the look on their face when they walked away. You go back to it like a movie you've already seen, hoping that this time you'll notice something new, something that will make it make sense. But it doesn't work like that. The more you replay it, the more you stay stuck in that loop. You start living in the last chapter instead of realizing the pen is still in your hand and the next chapter hasn't even been written yet. When something ends, it's human nature to try and understand it. We all want closure, some kind of emotional punctuation mark that tells us why. But the danger comes when the search for understanding turns into obsession. You start to romanticize what was, ignore what wasn't working, and build a shrine to the version of the relationship that only existed in your head. You forget the confusion, the way you didn't feel seen, the times you second-guessed your instincts. And every time you do that, you keep yourself emotionally tied to a version of the past that doesn't serve your future. The problem with staring at the ending is that it distracts you from the truth. Your story didn't end when they left. That was just a plot twist. And you get to decide what happens next. You get to ask yourself a much more powerful question. What kind of story do I want to live from this point forward? Do I want to be the character who stays stuck in what was, or do I want to be the one who rises, grows, and reclaims her narrative? The ending isn't where your power lives. Your power lives in the decision to move forward and write something better. This is your moment to start asking bigger questions. What makes me feel alive? What have I been putting off? Where have I been playing small? Breakups, as painful as they are, often highlight the parts of ourselves we've been neglecting. We lose ourselves in the relationship, in the hopes, in the potential. And when it ends, it's like a mirror gets held up. You suddenly see all the places where you abandon yourself while trying to hold on to someone else. That clarity is a gift. Don't waste it. Now's the time to dream again, not about them, but about you, about the life you want, the friendships you want to deepen, the things you've been scared to go after. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to start moving in a direction that feels like self-respect, that feels like growth, that feels like truth. Little by little, choice by choice, you begin to replace the memory of the ending with the momentum of something new. And here's the part that no one tells you. When you stop replaying the ending and start writing a new chapter, you don't just get over them, you evolve past them. You become someone who no longer fits inside that old relationship. The person they left isn't the person you're becoming. And when you look back, not with longing but with clarity, you'll realize that the breakup wasn't the worst thing that happened to you. It was the catalyst, the wake-up call, the start of a new era. So let them be the past. Let the ending be the ending. You've got more pages to fill. And the next part of your story, it's going to be one hell of a comeback. There comes a moment after heartbreak when you stop talking about what happened and start showing the world who you are becoming. It's not about proving anything to the person who left. It's about choosing yourself in such a powerful, undeniable way that their absence fades into the background of a life that's now too full, too vibrant, too aligned to make space for regret. You don't need to send a message, write a long caption, or craft the post to say, "Look what you lost." All you need to do is live well, because your life, when lived fully and authentically, becomes the loudest mic drop there is. In the beginning, it's natural to want them to see. You imagine them watching from a distance, scrolling through your photos, asking mutual friends how you're doing. You want them to regret it, to realize what they walked away from. But eventually you understand that their realization doesn't actually change anything for you. Their regret doesn't rebuild your confidence. Their guilt doesn't repair your broken plans. And even if they do feel the loss of you, it won't create the healing you're really after. That healing comes from building a life that feels so right for you, it no longer matters whether they ever understand what they gave up. When you start putting your energy into your own growth, your own joy, your own wholeness, something shifts. You stop looking over your shoulder and start looking forward. You stop waiting for someone to see your worth and begin stepping fully into it yourself. And the beauty of that is, it shows. It shows in your posture, in your peace, in the people you now attract, in the opportunities that come your way. Because you're operating at a higher level, you become someone who doesn't need to speak loudly, because her life already says everything that needs to be said. Living well isn't about revenge. It's not about showing off. It's about coming back home to yourself. It's about doing the inner work, healing the wounds, raising your standards, and becoming someone who no longer settles for anything less than mutual, healthy love. It's about finding happiness not in being chosen, but in choosing yourself every single day. It's about creating a life so rich in purpose and meaning that whether someone stays or leaves no longer defines your value. It just reveals their ability to recognize it. There's a quiet power in that. The kind of power that doesn't need applause, doesn't need attention, and certainly doesn't need the approval of someone who didn't stick around. You're not trying to make them regret it. You're just no longer wasting your time wishing they hadn't. You've outgrown the version of yourself who once waited by the phone, checked your messages obsessively, or second-guessed your worth because someone couldn't love you properly. Now you're in motion, you're building, you're rising, and you're doing it with a grace that says, I don't need to shout, my life speaks for itself. Let your career take off. Let your body get stronger. Let your circle get healthier. Let your self-love deepen so much that the version of you who once begged for breadcrumbs would barely recognize the woman you've become. That's the real power move. That's the real closure. Not in the apology you never got, but in the peace you now own. And if they do look back one day, if they do feel that pang of loss, let them. But by then, you'll be too busy living a life that makes you proud to even notice. So here you are, maybe still hurting, maybe still healing, but no longer stuck. Because he left? That wasn't the end of your story. That was the moment the real one began. You've learned that pain is not punishment, it's a message. You've learned that rejection isn't about your inadequacy, it's redirection to something greater. You've realized that heartbreak is not your enemy, it's your ignition, your fuel, your fire. You've taken the energy that was once poured into someone else and started pouring it into yourself. You stopped waiting for closure because you became it. You stopped rereading the ending and started writing a new chapter. And now you're not chasing validation. You're not hoping he sees what he lost, because your life speaks louder than any text he never sent. You've stepped into a level of self-respect, self-love, and success that makes his regret irrelevant. You didn't just get over him, you outgrew him. So the next time someone leaves you, underestimates you, or fails to see your value, let them. And then let your life be the mic drop. Because your greatest revenge will never be in what you say, it will be in who you become. And you, my friend, are just getting started.